Today we're back with the service worker baton issue that I still haven't managed to solve since last week. Remember last video I talked about a new solution to the service worker thing, and that involved a baton and passing it between tabs. But there's a slight problem with that when I tried implementing it, and today I'll go over that and possible solutions that I've had. But none of them seem to be working. So for the actual issue, here I just recreated the setup. We got our service worker here and a bunch of tabs that are currently open at the moment. So what the service worker does is it chooses any of these tabs at random and puts this baton of responsibility into the tab. Now this baton contains all of the set timeouts and whatnot that require a persistent script. And since tabs are persistent, well, it works fine. But then when the tab decides to close, that's when things get kind of a bit tricky. See, what I was doing was listening for the on before unload event on the tab. And that fires right before the tab is going to close. And when it fires, this baton is going to send a message back to the service worker indicating that it's about to die. So the service worker, being really efficient and stuff, immediately receives it and injects the baton into one of these tabs at random. And sometimes it might even inject it into the tab that's dying, because the service worker is so fast that the tab hasn't even died yet. And then the baton is injected into itself again. But this time, since the on before unload event has already fired, it won't fire again. And so the baton dies with the tab, and now we have no baton, because the service worker thinks that the baton is still with the tab that now died. And we're left in a pretty awkward situation. Just to make this a bit more clear, here we have a timeline of what a tab basically goes through. And this red line here is basically any event that triggers a tab to close. So that could be like the person actually closing the tab, or a refresh of the page, which like resets all the scripts and stuff. So it's equivalent to tab closing, or basically closing out the entire window or whatnot. And right after that happens, the before unload event gets triggered. And during the time before unload and the actual close, the service worker could go ahead and inject the script again. And since the before unload event already passed, it won't get fired again. And that's why the baton will just go ahead and die and nothing will work. So possible solutions I came up with were these. Like, sure, they do work, but they either have some downsides or performance issues or whatnot. One of them being the first one here being to just simply wait a few seconds after the baton indicates that it's going to die, so that it actually, like, the entire tab dies before a new baton is injected. Now, that's good, but then you have this delay between different batons, so that's not good. We can also just check if the tab is still alive a second after that. But what if the tab dies after a second? Or what if after injecting the baton, the service worker dies, since it's not persistent at all? So that's kind of risky as well. Now, this other solution here actually might work. And I came up with this while making this video, so thank you for allowing me to come up with this. But basically, we set up this connection between the service worker and the baton. And the good thing about this connection is that it actually triggers an event when either side of the connection dies. So instead of relying on this before unload event, we'll just always get an on disconnect event when the connection dies. So if the service worker decides to add the baton to the dying tab. Well, when the baton dies again, it'll fire another onDisconnect event. So service worker will still get the baton back. And you could just pass it to the other tabs. Now, due to the thing that service workers aren't persistent, I'm not sure whether or not long-lived connections still work. But since it's mostly event-based, I think it's fine. So that's my pretty brief video for today. See you next week for week number 5, 6. Sure, I have no idea. Thanks for watching.